What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Devy Royale YouTube channel. Today, we are talking through an NFL mock draft. So we are going to go picks 1 through 32. No trades, unfortunately, which kind of skews some of these picks. But we're going to be talking through every pick in the first round of an NFL mock draft. It's almost draft season, so we have to get there. We're going to hit the intro. Make sure you like and subscribe while that plays. Catch you on the other side. All right. As I said, NFL mock draft. Randy, are you ready? Are you ready for the first 2024 mock draft that we've done together?
The best we could be.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah. Well, these will get more refined as the season goes on. And for those that don't know, this will primarily be an NFL draft and college football channel after the NFL season. This is still technically the NFL show, but we're going to be doing a ton of draft content. We're going to have our rankings episodes, and the podcast, actually, if you subscribe there, is actually an NFL draft podcast. We changed the logo up a little bit too. So make sure you go find that on your favorite podcast app as well. We'll have content on here that's a little different. So, all right. Randy had the first pick. We're going to go first 5 picks. I'll read them off and we'll talk about them. But first pick to Chicago, Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. Drake May to the Patriots at 2, quarterback out of North Carolina. At 3, Arizona took Marvin Harrison Jr., the wide receiver out of Ohio State. 4, Washington took Joe Alt, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame. And then at 5, Chicago paired Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU, with Caleb Williams. Randy, decision to take a quarterback. We just talked about this last week. Do you think this is what happens, or is this the product of no trades?
I'm still 50-50 on it, but this is definitely geared more towards the product of no trades because Caleb Williams is going number 1 overall, in my opinion, no matter what. And if we're not trading back from Chicago, I'm not just making what I think they would do if they traded back to this spot and also then picking who was coming out. It just doesn't work. So Caleb Williams going here, which again, still a very realistic option. There's a lot the field still has to prove. We're hoping he proves it a little bit down the stretch here to give extra hope and validation to Ryan Poles and this future staff or current staff to keep Fields under center. But as of now, Caleb Williams is the obvious pick. Reset the market, trade Fields for a second, maybe a first in a bidding war, and try and improve from there.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And then, so we alternated picks here. At number 2, the Patriots desperately need a quarterback. They need a lot of things. They have a lot of cap space, and I think there's a realistic world in which they go out and get a Kirk Cousins, and then they trade for a wide receiver and pay that guy. But in this scenario, I have them going rookie quarterback, Drake May. Bailey Zappi's not it. Mac Jones isn't it. Drake May would be the first overall pick in most draft classes. I think he's right there behind Caleb Williams, though I do think that there is a tier break. I think New England would be fine getting a guy like Drake to lead them into a new regime. I don't think Bill Belichick's going to be there, honestly. So I think this would be a fresh start with a fresh quarterback here at 2.
Yeah, and then 2 alpha receivers going at 3 and 5 here. It's the same thing we just talked about Drake May. Malik Neighbors is a wide receiver 1 in the draft class. If there wasn't someone like Marvin Harrison Jr., as much as I love Hollywood Brown, as much as McBride has shined, they need a true wide receiver 1 that can open up Hollywood, who's also on the last year of his contract. We'll see how it goes. But with taking a tackle and trading up for 1 last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the no-brainer here. And then for the Bears, pairing a new quarterback with a new wide receiver 2 day 1, wide receiver 1 of the future is going to be great. That wide receiver core will be ridiculous. And with 2 second-round picks, hopefully you can hit a few other spots.
Yep, it's funny that Malik Neighbors' comp is DJ Moore, and I think as each day passes, it feels likely that Neighbors is a Bear. So
it's especially with no trade. It's
for sure.
Yeah, but again, this also shows, the Cardinals aren't trading up to 3. So if they stay at 3 and they don't fall in love with another prospect, I don't see how you could fall in love with anyone more than Marvin Harrison Jr. if you're the Cardinals. So it does limit your
Yeah.
options at 5.
Yeah, for sure. And for what it's worth, this order has been done through week 14. So this was the order coming into Thursday Night Football. This might change a little bit based
Yeah.
on what happens, and this will come out just after Thursday Night Football. But at 4,
I was just
oh,
saying,
go ahead.
sorry. Also, very quickly, there's a few guys you will not see in this draft simply because, as of right now, me and Christian both think that they're going to go back to college next year. There
Yeah.
are a few people that are on here that could go back to college. So if you
Mhm.
see some people, you're like, why is JJ McCarthy not on here? Well,
Yeah,
there's a good reason. I
for sure.
think
Cooper
it's
did.
at this point.
Xavier Worthy, I think, might have
Same.
had a first. Like there's a few
Yeah.
players that we just left out on purpose. On purpose.
Yes.
So at 4, Joe Alt to Washington. The Commanders have an atrocious offensive line. I know a lot of Commanders really want to go quarterback here, but I think that scenario happens if they're able to get one of the top 2. I'm not necessarily sure that they would move off of Sam Howell to go get Jaden Daniels. And so I think you get your left tackle of the future. I think Alt is going to be my OT2 when all is said and done, but I understand that he looks like a perennial Pro Bowler. Maybe he's not an All Pro right away, but he looks absolutely fantastic. I think he'll be a top 10 pick for sure. Before we get into picks 6 through 10, I do want to mention our Patreon. If you head to patreon.com/the Debbie Royale, you still have a few days to get in at the $3 price. You can lock yourself in forever at $3 a month and stick to our day tier. We have Devy rankings, dynasty rankings. We do a ton of NFL draft stuff. Our Discord is crazy right now with the transfer portal. We have a Devy guide coming out. We're doing a ton of stuff over there. After this Sunday, that price is going up to $5 a month. So now is the time. If you've been on the fence, if you've been watching us for a little bit, now is the time to go do that. Head to patreon.com/the Debbie Royale to join today. All right. Pick 6 through 10. This is where it gets a little crazy. So at 6, Jaden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU, to the Raiders. 7, the Jets take Olu Fashanu, the offensive tackle from Penn State. The Giants at 8 take J.C. Latham, the offensive tackle from Alabama. I'll have to explain that one away. 9, Roma Dunze to the Titans, wide receiver out of Washington. And then at 10, the Chargers take Nate Wiggins, the corner out of Clemson. I'll start with my pick at number 6. I think the Raiders might roll into next year with Aiden O'Connell. I think that there's a realistic world in which they build the team first, then get the quarterback. But I think a quarterback like Jaden Daniels is exactly the type of quarterback that the Raiders will like, a guy who has a modern NFL game, can push the ball downfield. So I do think Jaden Daniels is going to be the QB3 off the board. He did fall out of the top 5, but still picked here at 6 to the Raiders.
Yeah, still think it's a bit high.
Probably.
And to me, Jade Daniels, to be at least successful early in his career, needs to, as you said, he's a modern quarterback. He needs to go to a modern coach and a modern system. Obviously, what the Raiders have right now is not that, but their coach and GM really aren't in place. So we'll see how that folds out, but that's what we're looking at for the future for Jaden Daniels to really excel, because we'll get into him later, like as we go through this, but I think this is a lot of projection putting him at 6 personally, and I don't see a lot of potential growth, even though he's a lot younger than people are trying to act like he is, but still. I mean, he's going to
I
be
think that's fair.
23 at the draft. I mean, that's not ridiculous.
So another reason to join the Patreon, I'll be doing some all 22 breakdowns and talking through like scouting reports. Daniels has some issues still, but I mean, one of the fastest players I've ever seen play quarterback, like Lamar level fast. Maybe not Lamar level elusive, but Lamar level like speed, which is a game changer. We've seen that type of quarterback start to succeed at the NFL level. So that's why I think the NFL is going to like him.
Someone's going to project and put him up. And I think we brought up J.J. McCarthy right before. I think he has a chance to take this spot from Daniels, and we'll go from there when that happens. But a little bit of a tackle frenzy. 3 already in the top 10. Olu Fashanu at 7, like you said, and J.C. Latham at 8. Olu, is my tackle one currently. We'll see how that goes because this tackle class is crazy. But the Jets have
Mhm.
had so many problems. They've put so many darts on the board, and really the ones that have stick are the ones that have taken time, and now they're having to pay those guys. So I'm hoping Olu can come in and just reset this. The only way they're a weird team too because you're planning on Aaron Rodgers being there. Does Bakhtiari sign for a cheap deal? Does that really help you because he can't stay healthy? We're just going to eliminate that concern, take a top tackle here, and keep Rodgers healthy for 1 year, hopefully.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And the top of this tackle class is certifiably absurd. I think one started to fall. We'll get to Fuaga here in a little bit, but JC Latham is my OT1 right now. I have him and Alt over Fashanu. Latham, he's a right tackle. So, but the good thing is that the Giants have a left tackle. They drafted Evan Neal a couple years ago. That's not really working out. He's not performing very well. I think there's an opportunity to move off of him. He's still young, but JC Latham is kind of the anti Evan Neal in that he's a bigger dude, but powerful hands, nasty finisher, really good pass sets, really good footwork, things like that. Obviously, everything's fluid. We'll see how everything lands once the season is completely over. But right now, I think he's a top 10 pick for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely not arguing that because I would have taken him at 9 with the Titans. But I pivoted to a phenomenal receiver in Robodunze who capitalized on what he did in 2020 and played a lot better this year, making a lot more big plays and contested plays, seeming more natural and NFL type movements like back shoulders and just tight window plays. It's kind of the opposite of Treylon Burks, where Treylon Burks is pretty much all after the catch. That's what he's got. Odunze can do everything else, win at all three levels, and then Treylon can be a wide receiver too that can break out a bit with bigger plays with Phillips in the slot making the other nice little chain movers. I think it's a good piece for Will Levis to try and really strengthen his opportunity to be a quarterback of the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And then at 10, Nate Wiggins. I'm not huge on Nate Wiggins, but I understand that projection is required. I think that he can get caught with flat feet a little bit, but there are some really, really good reps where, like, even when he gets beat, he's got the closing speed to make sure he, can catch up. He's got good hand usage and things like that. He's a long corner. This corner class is pretty absurd if I'm being completely honest. I don't know who my CB1 is going to be. It won't be Wiggins, but I think that he will have a lot of NFL fans. Plus, if the Chargers still have the same GM, I think they might make the wrong corner pick because I don't trust the Chargers to make decisions. So I went with Nate Wiggins here. I've seen it quite a bit in industry mocks too.
Yeah, I honestly think Nate will probably be my corner one as of right now. We'll get through them all. Obviously, I do think
A couple months.
that the next pick has my favorite chance currently to be the number one defensive player. Obviously, you sniped that
Yes.
position from me here, but yeah, so good transitioning point.
Yeah. Sorry.
Dallas Turner. Sorry, I should have just let you switch
Yeah.
first. But Dallas Turner, 11 to the Falcons. I'll just go through that quick. Just he is really broken out. I truly think he is the best day one edge, even if it hasn't been the best stats necessarily. That's the next player. But there's no health concerns. There's no red flags anywhere. I think he's going to kill it at the combine. I think he's going to kill it in interviews. All the Saban guys usually do. And I think he's going to have a lot of teams fall in love with him. And with the Falcons having a better defense this year, but really need an edge presence, he's the obvious fit.
Yeah, for sure. Turner, I went into it thinking Latu would be my edge one, and I'm not even close to done with the edge class or anything like that. But I do have the top three that we have right here graded, and this is exactly how I would have it: is Turner, then Latu, then Verse. So at 12, I can talk about Latu. The medicals are very important because I think from a film perspective, I think you can argue that he is the best edge in the nation. He's not the bendiest, but we have seen a turn from the bendy guys to the powerful guys because of how the NFL offensive minds have adjusted to the speedy guys and deep drops and things like that. Latu is powerful. He can get around the edge. He can turn quite a bit. He's a really good finishing player as well. And I think I may have sniped him for the Seahawks there. And so you went with Verse, who has had a fantastic month. I do want to say that he really come on strong when the quarterback went down.
Yeah, he became the de facto leader when the team needed him the most. That was more impressive than maybe the rest of his tape, which is really impressive too. He, like you said, turned on the last month. I think he's going to continue to impress. He should, I assume, play in the bowl game because this team has a lot of pride to fight for here and try and claim the national title as teams do when they don't make it into the national title games. But Versus a really good fit for the Seahawks, who Boye Mafe has started to come on. But they definitely still need the other side, and getting a big body like him as well on that side that really close in while they're still trying to shore up the rest of the defensive spots, trying to get to the quarterback faster to allow your fast and strong corners to be a little bit more ball hawky with Woolen, and I think it's a great fit. Finishing out this sign, Rams at 14, Brock Bowers, the tight end from Georgia, and Kool-Aid McKinstry went 15 to the Broncos, the corner from Alabama. I'll do Kool-Aid quick so you can go in more depth on Brock, who is one of the better talents in the class. But Kool-Aid McKinstry, a really good corner, a lot of tape, a lot of big name value, even if it was just, I think, at first because of the fun name. But he proved his worth on tape and on film. A definitely more physical corner. I think as a corner two for this team, obviously with one of the best corners in the league and Pat Surtain on the other side, he can be a little bit better for this team. There's other corners that might be a little bit more schematically fit, or this was just one of my favorite fits for him in the whole draft.
Yeah, I'm in on that. I also think that would be one of the best corner tandems in the league pretty quickly. McKinstry's like an island type of guy, I think, as his upside. So to have two island guys, that's how you build.
I think I don't think he'll be our corner two necessarily, but he's got that potential for sure, like you just said, and him being able to step in, no doubt, be the corner two and actually get a lot of reps because of that, I think is going to be perfect for his development.
Yeah, and then we'll bump back one pick to the Rams, taking Brock Bowers. So Brock Bowers is an interesting one because tight end value tends to vary year to year. I think Kyle Pitts was one of the highest drafted tight ends. That hasn't quite worked out, and I don't know if that's going to scare some teams off. That said, from what he can do out of every personnel grouping, he can be your starting slot receiver. Some people have pushed back when I've said that. No, like he's going to beat NFL corners. He's already beating NFL corners. That's what's happening in college. So he can do that. He can line up. He can block. I think a lot of people are going to try to compare him to Travis Kelce, but he's a more physical player than Travis Kelce even. I think he gets a feel for space. And the reason I have him going to the Rams is because they're still kind of win now. Stafford's still hooping. He's hooping out there, and Tyler Higbee has not been good enough for them. So they need an upgrade at that position. I know they need other positions, but this was one of those BPA type situations where I actually didn't pick him when we originally did it. And I said, wait, timeout. I didn't realize he was still on the board. So I went back and put Brock Bowers to the Rams.
Yeah, because they need to focus on their defense in the draft. But like you said, this is a BPA. He's another game changer for this offense, further making that wide receiver duo impossible to guard, especially if you have Brock Bowers going deep up the seam and have these guys do anything else. It's going to be insane. Like, I don't understand the pushback in the slot when, like, Chigakonkwo was played more in the slot than in line at times. He's not the caliber receiver that Brock Bowers is, even if we both love Chig. It's not the case. So he's very clearly an all-around weapon and would be an insane fit there. But he's just in a weird spot, like you said. When you're going through all these teams like that need a tight end, who truly needs a tight end? like desperately, a game changer tight end, sure. Like, yeah, I almost took him for the Jets, but they're going to take a tackle over tight end, just plain simple. And
Right.
then you keep going down, and the Chargers were the next best case, but we want defense. And I'm glad you picked him because we were going to go through a few picks without taking him, and it was going to annoy the crap out of me.
Yeah. He'll be gone in the top 15 picks, I think, for sure. Someone
Yeah.
will trade up if they have to, but we don't have trades,
Mhm.
obviously. So, all right, next grouping, 16 through 20. At 16, the Arizona Cardinals hold the Texans pick here. We've got Terry and Arnold, the corner from Alabama. 17, Buffalo took Keon Coleman, the wide receiver out of Florida State. Interested to hear this. I think he's going to start to fall a little bit just from what I've seen. Cincinnati at 18 took Quinyon Mitchell, corner out of Toledo. This might be an against the grain one. I haven't seen him this high just yet. 19, Green Bay, Talise Fuaga, the offensive tackle out of Oregon State. And then at 20, Tampa Bay gets Chop Robinson, the edge out of Penn State, who had an up and down year, but he's one of those bendy guys that I think will work his way into the top 20. I can start with Arnold quickly. Just a lot of McKinstry and Arnold work off of each other perfectly. It's a reason I think Alabama's about to win the title. Just a dominating corner duo that I think that I don't have an official grade on Arnold yet, but I think that he's in contention to be my corner one. I think McKinstry might also be in contention for that as things get down to it. And I think Arizona desperately needs a player like that. So I went with corner for their second pick. It'll be nice seeing Harrison Jr. and Arnold battle it in practice in this scenario.
Yeah. 17, Keon Coleman. I get the concerns. I don't think he's going to be my wide receiver 4. I took him here because truly right now I'm not 100% sold on anyone at wide receiver 4. I definitely want to do a lot more dive into these guys. Keon Coleman is going to be a really good outside receiver. The other thing, Gabe Davis contract year. We don't know if he's back next year. Doesn't really make sense to give him a big contract. Redoing this and trying again is not a bad option, especially with Diggs and how his behavior on and off the field. We don't know if he's going to come back. Keon Coleman is a great prototypical outside alpha receiver. He just lacks the long speed, the acceleration, a lot of route running technique and sharpness. And, honestly, for how big he is, his run blocking does concern me a bit at times. I think it's more effort. But when you're out there with ball skills like that and that elite frame, and you're good at tracking, you're good at going up in the air, and you can make all the crazy body control movements, and without the big, explosive athleticism, you can still make plays in the open field. I think it's a good combination, especially as a wide receiver too. It's getting away from just a deep threat that Gabe Davis tends to be and being more of an outside, true, more alpha receiver. And hopefully that would play better in this offense because clearly Josh Allen's willing to throw the ball in tight coverage. I think he can win in that place. I would rather have him here with Josh Allen than a lot of places for his development was also the point of putting him here.
For sure. I will say I will certainly sell you on a wide receiver 4 once we stop recording this because I have a very clear wide receiver 4 that might end up being my wide receiver 3. But we'll get to that player here in a little bit. Quickly on Quinyon Mitchell, corner out of Toledo, big, long ball skills, athleticism, type of player that tends to shoot up draft boards late. He has been in Dane Brugler's top 50 for a very long time. I got some eyes on him. I don't have Toledo all 22. So I can't do a full deep dive on Mitchell yet. I will be able to eventually, but just right now, I think that he's going to be one of those guys that is going to start to creep up in mocks. And Cincinnati needs a lot of things. I think they found something with their offense in incorporating Chase Brown. And I think this offense that they're running with Jake Browning is a version that they can kind of incorporate next year. So I went defensive side for Cincinnati, where I kind of think they have to go on that side of the ball at this point.
Yeah. Packers get a tackle they desperately need. Again, I do think Bakhtiari is gone. Even if he isn't, you need to retool this offensive line. While it's performed better than a lot of people expected this year, getting a true tackle, obviously Fuaga is a right tackle. I think he could play both sides, but if you want to stick him at right, that's perfectly fine. Very good in the run game. He's got the long arms, so he's relying on a lot in pass sets. He does get beat by speed, but he's got to improve technique wise in the pass game. But he's got that aggression, that nasty demeanor, and has a pretty good anchor against a bull rush. So I think a lot of teams are going to be putting speed rushers against him, and we'll see how he does. But this team needs to run the ball with Jordan Love to really be more efficient. They have their best games this year. They've been better running the ball, and I think this solidifies that mindset and make Jordan Love's life as easy as possible while the wide receiver room and tight end room continue to develop.
I love Fuaga. I love him. I think he's
I know.
so good. He's my type of tackle. That's the player I like. I already mentioned my thoughts on Chop Robinson, so we'll move on to 21 through 25. At 21, the Colts get Johnny Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois. 22, Minnesota gets Chris Braswell, the edge out of Alabama. I'll explain that one when we get to it. 23, Pittsburgh, Kamari Lassiter, the corner out of Georgia. Houston holds Cleveland's pick here at 24. I had him taking Jordan Morgan, the offensive tackle from Arizona. And then at 25, Kansas City gets Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. That's one that's, we're still on the fence on if he's going to come out, but I think it's worth putting him in here because I think he's going to get fine NFL grades, and that might force him out, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see, like, he's not getting anywhere lower than a top or mid second round grade. Ibuka's really good. He's really good at getting open, really good at everything. You really need to be an elite slot receiver for this league. And that's where I think he's going to thrive. I do think his ceiling is what we're seeing from Amon St. Brown right now. And I think the Chiefs, where teams are, they were playing so far back and saying, hey, you can't beat us deep. You're going to have to beat us short. And Kelsey was doing that. This Ibuka at least gives you an opportunity to lighten that load, let Rashee Rice continue to develop on the other side as an outside receiver, and it gives you more of a three-level threat in this offense, which it desperately needs. With Newton, with the Colts, they're in a weird spot where, I kind of love their offense right now. So I'm not, desperately I need to get these 10 players here. But Newton, I think he's probably the best D tackle in the class. They have gotten some decent edge help this year. I think getting another true interior presence is a smart play for them. There's really a safety I felt was a little bit of a reach here. There's no linebackers I feel are first round talents right now. Corners are a little bit depleted. The positions that I would love to take for them were just gone. So I went with the best player on the board, at least in my opinion, at the spot, and that was Newton.
A very fair assessment. If you guys followed our draft coverage last year, it was on a different channel, so you probably didn't. But I really liked Kalijah Kancey. That was one of my favorite players in the class. I had him as a top 10 talent. Johnny Newton's right there. And they're very, very similar players, except I think Newton probably has more bend and more ability, more refinement in getting to the quarterback, whereas I think Kancey probably had a better first step, but Newton's crazy, man. I just know that this is about his range because he's still undersized, and I don't know how effective he is in the run game.
That's where Kancey went to.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I do think Kancey was probably a little bit better against the run than Newton, but Newton's a little bit better of a pass rusher, which is what we were boasting Kancey for. So that's why I do think it's a great fit. They have a little bit more stout interior defensive tackles, and I do think Newton has the ability to play on the outside because he is a little bit leaner. I think he's probably 290 right now, 295, which as a D tackle, as a normal person, doesn't seem small, but as a D tackle in the NFL, it kind of is.
Yeah, I mean, a team could probably take him and use him in a Chris Jones role and succeed. Yeah. So, quickly on Chris Braswell, I'm kind of upset. ESPN's Matt Miller's first mock had Chris Braswell in it, and in our Discord, I said, "Man, I thought I was the only one that was really high on Braswell. When I watched Dallas Turner, this kid popped. There were times where I thought I was watching Turner because of how good the bend was and how quickly he was getting to the quarterback and the power and things like that. And saw the number, and it was actually Braswell. So this is a guy that's going to be a late riser. You're going to see him in more mocks. I do think Minnesota has had effective edge rushing from Danielle Hunter, but the way they've generated pressure is from their crazy blitz packages. And so I think if you can get a guy where you don't have to blitz all the time, that could be a good tool to have on that defense's toolbox. So went with him here. And really, I do think that there is a cliff after the first few edges in this class, maybe 4 or 5. And so I think edge 6 is up for debate right now. And this is the last one in this mock. So,
yeah. Quickly on Lassiter, good outside corner, a little grabby, which is definitely one of the things we notice every year, but it seems to matter less and less as the years go on. So we'll see how it goes, but going to pair with a really physical technician on the other side with Joey Porter, while a lot of his technique little things need to kind of get fixed, he's really good on the perimeter, good against vertical routes, willing tackler, which is important for a Steelers organization. Steelers desperately need corner help, in my opinion. Their corner 2 is Pat Peterson. They've gotten some other guys that have stepped up here and there, but at least Lassiter gives them a real chance to have an impact duo to make life a little bit easier for their safeties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jordan Morgan, quick scouting report. Guy who can move in the run game, guy who has effective pass sets, very good athlete. Another guy I expect to be a late riser as this process goes on. But this offensive tackle class, offensive line in general, ridiculous. Can't wait to dive in deeper. 26 through 30 here. At 26, the Jaguars took Leonard Taylor, the defensive tackle for Miami. 27, Detroit took Graham Barton, the probably interior offensive lineman from Duke. Center, guard, probably not tackle, but you never know. That's where he played in college. Philadelphia at 28 took Amarius Mims, the offensive tackle from Georgia. 29, Miami took Troy Fatanu, the probably interior offensive lineman from Washington. One of those guys that you never know. He might be able to play tackle. And then 30, Dallas Cowboys took Troy Franklin, the wide receiver out of Oregon. I don't have too many notes on many of these guys. Marius Mims, tools. I think that's what's going to boost him. I don't think he has first round film personally, but I also understand that guys that big shouldn't move like that. And so sometimes that makes a team like Philadelphia take a risk because they are so good at refilling positions that they might not need immediately. And then Leonard Taylor's another one of those guys that, like, loaded with traits, hasn't really produced, but I think the traits might be enough to push him in here because this defensive tackle class is pretty weak after Johnny Newton. So, and then I'll talk about Troy Franklin after you talk about your picks.
Yeah, offensive line, continue the trend there. With the Lions, they're pretty set at tackle, but with contracts in the interior offensive line room, I do think them reinvesting, getting a new starting guard, and also a swing tackle when needed is very smart for them. Again, this is a team that should work on the defense, especially secondary, but we've been poaching it, and it's getting really slim. There's some people that might be pushed up here, but I thought Barton was one of the best players on the board, especially versatility-wise, and the Lions desperately, they love to get that for their offensive line. I think it's a smart move to reinvest there, to continue to have an always top 5 offensive line. And, so, the Dolphins with Fontenot, again, a guy that is being touted as being able to play all 3 positions, tackle, guard, center. Obviously, there's 5, but I do think that's a little bit egregious. I don't think he's going to be a tremendous center, possibly, but they could definitely use a new starting center in the future. They could use new guards. Their whole line is weird how it's set up right now. They're having to pay guys that are starting to finally do something. That's going to kind of drop the well when you're going to have to pay Tua eventually here. because he's played well enough and he's staying upright for the most part. But they need to keep that going because if he can stay back there as a conductor in this offense, it's lethal.
I have a proposition for the Dolphins that I'm going to keep off air for now, and we'll talk about it again off air. Dallas at 30, Troy Franklin. That's the wide receiver I was talking about. That kid is phenomenal. Just an outstanding mover. The film from 2022 to 2023 was so vastly different that it shocked me when I first turned on the film. I just did a breakdown of that also on the Patreon. Go join our Patreon. I'm doing breakdowns every week. But Troy Franklin, to me, is a 3-level winner that can beat you with speed. He can beat you with a release package and kind of win underneath. He runs every route that you could possibly imagine. It's a really good player that I think, if I had to guess, I think Buffalo will prefer him once we get down to the nitty gritty. Now, there's a chance that Troy Franklin doesn't even declare because he's an underclassman. So I think he will, but you never know. So he could be one of those guys that we talked about that goes back.
The wide receiver class is really weird because of these top 2 or 3 guys that guys staying back for one more year. We're not looking at this next year's class as, oh God, look at these just absolute demons that we got this year. So someone like Egbuka or Franklin going back or Worthy can really catapult themselves to the next level, especially Franklin's a bit tougher, with his quarterback leaving. I don't know where that goes. I think that might propel him into the draft. But like Egbuka, we don't know who the quarterback's going to be there. Worthy, we know who the quarterback's going to be for sure. Even if Ewers comes out, we know who the next one is. So I do think Franklin could do well going back to just get a little bit more fine-tuned, maybe get a little bit bigger, because that's kind of what he is right now. I do think I love what you said though, because 2022 I feel like he was all speed, and then 2023 I think he developed and exploded to the next level of a wide receiver. So that's what I'm going for. And we saw the same thing with Keon Coleman, jumping to a different school, a completely different player, it felt like. And he's a little bit more projection to do the same thing at the next level than Troy is, I think. But Troy might be a little bit more pigeonholed to staying inside a little bit more than Keon Coleman will have to, because he probably should never go inside. But with the new age out NFL, I think he definitely could easily shoot up boards to wide receiver 4 in this class. I just don't think he can. He can't get to 3 for me. But yeah, he's been great. He's consistent, and that's the best thing you can be as a wide receiver, especially at pick 30 for a team that has CeeDee Lamb and really is desperate for someone besides Brandon Cooks to step up.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I can't wait to get deeper into this wide receiver class because I have notes. All right. 31 and 32. Last 2 picks. San Francisco took Cameron Kinchens, the safety from Miami. And then at 32, I had the Ravens take TJ Tampa, the corner out of Iowa State. Quickly on Tampa, just a quick-footed, mirror type of corner that can track really well, that can stick. I like sticky corners. TJ Tampa is that. What are your thoughts on Kinchens?
I think he's a great pairing with Hufanga. Let Hufanga kind of be a little bit more of a madman, do whatever he feels like, and Kitchens can kind of cover the rest. Kitchens does have the ability to be a nickel slot corner, man-to-man type corner early on if you need him, if you're going to keep your current safety duo. But I think he's a great added to this DB room that desperately needs help, in my opinion. That's the only way they're getting beat this year so far. I think he can help you at multiple sets. But again, of the 2 top safeties, I would rather have Kitchens if I need someone to be more of a free safety, cover the whole field. So that's why he went here for me. Again, when you're the San Francisco 49ers, there's not a lot of holes. And this is more of a benefit than a hole necessarily.
Yeah, for sure. All right. That's it. That's all of our picks in this first round. We'll certainly have longer mocks. We'll be doing, like I said, a ton of NFL draft content. on this channel. So make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think of your favorite teams pick, where we might have went wrong. Obviously, some of the team needs will change as things develop. For example, pick 6. Jane Daniels, I know that Aiden O'Connell has 4 touchdowns in Thursday Night Football. It's only halftime, I think. So
yeah, I don't think that really counts for anything right now, though, from what this game's been.
Yeah, Chargers. I assume that by the time this gets published, Brandon Staley is not the head coach anymore, but who knows?
Oh, it's 42-0. Okay.
It's really rough. But yeah, so we'll be doing a ton of this. We've got a nice long. We'll be doing franchise fix episodes and things like that. So make sure you subscribe now. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast app, on Apple, Spotify. We're everywhere. Just look up the Devy Royale. Randy, anything else to add before we get out of
here? Take these way too early mocks with a bit of lightheartedness. We're just trying to get a few little team needs, little fits in there, and some names popping up and stuff we like about them. I will say Christian's definitely a little bit ahead of me on tape just because of more of the Devy stuff. But we both usually have a lot of hits, and I think we'll do pretty good with this class because it seems top heavy with a lot of fun projections later.
Yeah, I'm still chasing my next Alex Highsmith. That's the bar from that class. So
I don't even. I've had so many. I don't know. I was kidding.
Love that. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys next time.